So, I want to talk a little bit about the relationship shadow. And the idea of the relationship shadow is that essentially we tend to continuously bring into our lives people who represent unhealed aspects of ourselves. And while our conscious mind may look at somebody and go, hey, this isn't a good fit, or this behavior that this person is enacting towards me is unhealthy, I don't know if I should stick around. Well, our conscious mind may be able to logically grasp when things are healthy or not. Our subconscious mind may not follow our logic. Our subconscious mind might continuously invest in that person, anyways, even though we know better. And this is just an illustration, essentially, of our subconscious mind not being able to really differentiate and also having certain programs that we're seeking to fulfill. We tend to continuously want to go after things that are familiar because at the end of the day, the subconscious mind is survival oriented and it sees familiarity as safety and thus survival. And so we tend to keep going back into the same types of relationships, experiences, things of that nature. And in this video, I want to take you through the dismissive avoidance relationship shadow. So I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you through an exercise. And I'll give suggestions and insights into what I see tends to trigger dismissive avoidance the most and some different pain points to be aware of. The first step is for you to take a minute and think of the last three close relationships you had and the traits or behaviors with that person that really affected you or bothered you the most. So it can be things like this person made me feel unseen. They didn't hear me. They didn't see my boundaries. They didn't understand me. I really felt misunderstood. I felt shamed a lot by others. I felt criticized. And maybe the last person I was with made me feel like I wasn't cut out for relationships. So make a list of the things that show up for you there and pause this video as needed and try to think of like all those different dynamics, the things that really got under your skin, really affected you, maybe made you feel unsafe in certain ways. So those are some common themes that I'll often see with a dismissive avoidant as a whole. Now, if you take a closer look and if you go to the next step, what you're going to see happens next is often that dismissive avoidance, they attract just like every single other attachment style, who they are. And they may not be acting this way overtly to others, but they are often acting this way subconsciously in the relationship to themselves. So what I mean by this is, if those things that triggered you with other people is you felt like, hey, when my anxious, preoccupied partner is really triggered or feels afraid, they don't see and hear my own boundaries. They don't see and hear me in that moment. I often feel misunderstood in the relationship, right? All these things are dismissive avoidance. Dismissive avoidance usually struggle to see themselves, to hear themselves, to understand themselves. And that's part of why dismissive avoidance often feels so misunderstood is because they're not understanding themselves enough to really clearly communicate what they need from others in the relationship to others. And that leads them to constantly feel this feeling of like chronic misunderstanding in their close interpersonal relationships. And then if they feel unsafe, right? Like, or they feel criticized, or they feel like somebody's shaming them, like think of how dismissive avoidants are in the relationship to themselves. They usually don't really show up and make themselves feel acknowledged and appreciated and cared for. Instead, they're often shaming themselves all the time. So we don't attract what we are in relationships to others. We attract what we are in the relationship to ourselves. And if you do a deeper dive into shadow work, you may see that there's other hidden components of how we can actually operate this way in relationship to others and not realize it or recognize it, but just occurring in different forms. But that's a more complicated topic than for this intro video here. And what I would love for you to do is take a moment and really write out as many of those different patterns you can think of, and then a strategy for how I can move through these things. And if you want to do a deeper dive, I have a shadow work course you can check out for free for 7 days using the link below. And it's all about when you have these different dynamics, when you have these different pain points, how to actually heal them through reconditioning the subconscious mind. Because you didn't wake up and decide, hey, I want to make myself feel misunderstood and then date other people who make me feel misunderstood. What happened is you got those subconscious imprints because of past trauma. Those things locked into your subconscious mind, and then they got reenacted in your relationship to others. because it's a subconscious comfort zone. It's like how you show up when around other people because it's what you know. And so to actually move out of that, e- basically n- makes it an absolute necessity for you to be able to do that subconscious reconditioning work in the relationship to yourself. So in the subconscious shadow work course, it's all about like how to actually do that reconditioning, but also how to identify your shadow in many different ways. And there's other really fun tools in there about not just, your relationships, but just shadow work as a whole. So you can do a big deep dive into that. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And it's really interesting because you'll see every single attachment style, the things that they do, um, and get triggered by in relationships to others are often things that they're participating in as behaviors in the relationships themselves. So hopefully very new for you if you are new to shadow work. Hopefully that's kind of like insightful, gives you some context for why you keep kind of dating the same people, attracting the same people, feeling the same way in your relationships, even though like the person might change, maybe the patterns and the themes and the way that you're feeling tends to be really, similar. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in future videos.